Hi, hello there. It's been a while, but today we're going to be talking about alignment in D&D 5e, and honestly, it can even apply to other TTRPGs as well. But hey, I'm Ashling, and let's jump right into the video. Woo! Alignment in Dungeons and Dragons has been around for a long time, but recently, fewer and fewer tables have been implementing it, and it's become a hot topic. Now, as such, please keep in mind that this video is all my opinion, alright? There might be some hot takes, I don't know, maybe they're all really mild takes and I think they're hot, so we'll see, but feel free to argue with me in the comments below if you want. So, really quick for those who don't know, alignment in D&D is essentially how your character sees the world and their moral code. And currently, in my opinion, on why alignment gets a bad rap is because for a long time it was used to put characters into boxes saying they must be good or they must be evil and so on. There were and still are magic items that are restricted to certain alignments, and hell, a paladin in past editions used to have to be lawful good. This created a stereotypes and certain expectations for character creation, and when playing that character at the table, if your character did something that may go against their alignment, they might have had to change it even if all of their other choices like that they've ever made fit into their previous alignment. So sometimes, it could be kind of iffy. So now today I'm going to show you how to properly use alignment. And this is how I like to use it at my tables, because I think especially for new players it can be very beneficial in trying to craft a certain archetype or really form more depth for your character. So there are 9 alignments in D&D 5th edition, those being the following. Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful good, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. I think good and evil are fairly self-explanatory. We're just gonna go with basic definitions of good being, kind of that altruistic, wanting to make the morally right choice, whereas evil is, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. It's evil, guys. So let's kind of take a look into those other terms. So I look at lawful as more of following a strict moral code and wanting to maintain order than just rather the laws strictly set by a society. It can be, if you want to play your character that way, it can definitely be they follow the laws of a society, but then those laws would be their strict moral codes. So that's kind of why I like to look at it like that, because I think it broadens the reach of lawful. Yeah. So chaotic is kind of the opposite, where you make choices that benefit whatever your character's needs are at the time, and you don't generally have a strict moral compass, so it's kind of just someone who does what they want, when they want, on the whim of, I don't know, the breeze. So, whereas neutral is an in-between, where you may not bow constantly to your own desires, but you may also not have a strict moral code. A good example for a true neutral character is kind of an average citizen who obeys most laws as long as they aren't a major hindrance and they don't go out of their way to perform good deeds or bad ones. So kind of just like, think of your average Dro in a city walking down the street. They might not stop and help someone, someone who's homeless on the street. They may not really help them, but they're also probably gonna not go and commit, grievous crimes, or even just petty crimes, really. So I'm going to kind of give you some examples of how I like to use these alignments. So I like to use what I call a soft alignment versus a hard alignment. And a soft alignment is where you still pick an alignment during character creation, however, you use that alignment to help you think about how your character would make choices and react to certain situations, versus you have to make a choice because you're a certain alignment. So it's like, oh, I might lean more towards this because this is kind of how my character views the world, versus, oh, I'm lawful good, so I have to help this person even if I don't like them. That kind of thing. So let's now give an example of a lawful alignment. So if I was playing, let's just say, a Vampire Oath of Conquest Paladin, and my alignment is lawful evil, I would take time to think about how my character views the world and their moral compass. So you can still be lawful evil, but refuse to kill children and elderly, because in this case, evil is all about opposing the views of the current society your character is in. So to this character, ritualistic cannibalism may be normal, but in the city they're currently in, it's considered evil and against the law, and therefore the world views them as evil. So also, if you want to know how to play an evil character, check out my video linked up there as well. So if I was playing this character in a game, I'd probably make sure I'm always following their beliefs because they're lawful, so they have strong ties and connections to these beliefs, even if society has condemned them to be evil in this case. So they'd probably always cook and consume the bodies of their humanoid enemies, unless it was a child or elderly individual. Then they would probably refuse to harm them in the first place, and they would still be considered evil for that, just because the society they're in is something that they don't believe in. So you can have, a non-typical evil character, because a lot of characters, when you think of evil, is someone that's always necessarily evil, but evil and good are actually really complex. But this is just to give you guys an example of what that might be like. So now let's look at something, with more of a chaotic alignment. So if I was playing a tiefling bard with a chaotic good alignment, my character would generally be looking to help people, but sometimes choose their self-indulgent desires instead. So they may do things such as graffiti poems on the wall, but most of the time they probably wouldn't be okay with anything that's considered morally evil, such as mass murder or extreme torture, because they're still a good overall character. They're probably, not going to want to go out and do those things, but they're still going to want to do kind of chaotic things that might cause trouble and be annoying to people, but they don't actually want to, they don't have the desire to physically, harm people or do morally evil things. So, however your characters are people and complex individuals. So, they may choose to stray from their path, and that's okay because they're learning and growing just like we do. And I think generally a character making, about 7 out of 10 decisions, in kind of like their normal alignment category, I think they would still definitely fall under that alignment completely. So, especially, I think the best way to use alignments is a tool during character creation and development to help get a sense of the character and how the world may react to their beliefs, morals, and choices. So I don't like to think of it as a permanent archetype that we have to force players into, but rather a fluid baseline to help generate ideas, add depth and realism to your characters. So you also, once you kind of have an alignment, I think it can change, and I don't think there's any reason to penalize players on that if alignment is something that's relevant in your games. For me, generally, I don't bring up alignment like that much in my games, but I always have characters pick an alignment because I think it's a good tool to help them flesh out their characters. Like I said, especially for newer players who don't really know, what they want, and this can kind of help get them idea of like, oh, my character is like neutral good, so I'm kind of like, well, no, I do, most of the time I do what I want, but I still want to help people, and I'm not really going to go out of my way to do probably anything crazy that a chaotic character might. So I think, while we want to try not to put characters in a box, it's just a good baseline to help characters get an idea, and sometimes too, having things that have to do with alignment is fun in your games, especially if you're, telling a tale of like evil and good. But I think also the alignments are much more complex than we give them credit for. But also that's kind of just how I like to view them, especially in terms of evil characters and even good, because these are all subjective things at the end of the day. So I think one of the most important things is focusing on the society that your characters will be in, and what the alignment chart looks like in that society, because if your characters go to a different society while they're adventuring, and, you know, those people have different moral quandaries on what evil and good may be, then their alignments could change, but not because their choices changed, but because they found themselves amongst different kinds of people. And I think that's really cool. So I think just, you know, work with your players on like their goals, kind of what they want to do, and what makes their character tick and how they make choices. And just, you can use alignment as a baseline, but be fluid with it, you know, have fun. Don't lock your characters in and say that they have to act this way because, you know, they're lawful good, so they have to help the old lady across the street. They don't always have to do that, especially if that's not in their own moral compass. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. It was just kind of me talking about my opinions on alignment. So yeah, I hope you have an amazing and wonderful rest of your day and it's full of smiles, and I'll see you next time. Aisling, blasting off. Bye!